Back at the start of COVID in mid-2020, as I was about to graduate from Finnish high school, and about 6 months to go until I had to start as a conscript in the Finnish military, I was a bit lost as to what I wanted to do with all the time I now had for a while. So I did what any sane person would do, and I downloaded Unity.
So here's a step-by-step guide on getting started with your first video game. One of the most essential parts of creating a 2D game is of course player movement.
Have you guys ever heard the one about the polar bear that walks into a bar and he's like, "Can I get a beer?" And the bartender is like, "No, you can get a health. It's a health bar."
God, do I miss him. I had always been relatively interested in game development for at least a few years at that point, and most of the things I've tried to learn, something like writing, graphic design, music and the like, have always been there with the end goal of developing games in mind. During those few months before my conscription, I tried to revive an old on-off project of mine relating to a fantasy world, something that I had drawn stuff based around for the better part of 4 to 5 years. The whole thing originally started as a cringy writing project when I was a teen, but then over the years evolved into something else with the hope of maybe turning it into a game or something related in the future. After starting out, I admittedly didn't get far, and I ended up not doing much with that until a bit under a year later, a few months into then my 9-month total conscription. Thankfully, I ended up mostly serving as a graphic designer sitting in an office for 8 hours a day, giving me ample time to just muck about with the ideas and concepts, and I once again bounced off of those, and opened up the Unity project for the first time in months. And admittedly, again, I really didn't get far. My knowledge was still pretty piss poor, but I finally sort of started understanding as to what I was doing. And I also worked up the courage to partake in my first ever game jam, which, to be completely honest now, looking back, was a bit of a hot mess, but at least I was trying to make stuff again. Fast forward a few months, and I just got out of the army. I had finally started it in a multimedia bachelor's degree and started out for the first time ever meeting like-minded people, not just in terms of artists who do illustration work, but with people who have personal experience messing about in the game development scene, both similar to my age and people my seniors. Side note, go wishlist a classmate's and his friend's game on Steam. It's pretty pog, as the kids say. Now for the second year of my studies, which is just about to end, I had the chance to join a year-long game dev focused set of courses and projects. It honestly was one of the main reasons as to why I applied to this specific degree in the first place. While I've been supposed to just work as an artist alongside other artists and a few programmers in my team, I've ended up being a bit of a jack of all trades, doing both programming and art, being almost the only one with any experience with Unity from beforehand. We first created this Bomberman-inspired 2D top-down speedrunning game called Plobo the Cat, and now we're about to finish our 3D game project, a Plants vs Zombies-inspired tower defense game called The Gnoming. Yes, I know, that's a terrible pun. And now, suffice to say, I think I'm finally starting to have the courage to start working on bigger projects of my own, or at least work a lot more. Over the last year, I've been able to try and learn a multitude of new things, written a bunch of different scripts to ease further development of future projects, and just in general, I've learned to actually work on projects. That finally brings me to the actual reason as to why I wanted to make this short video in the first place. Project FOF, or rather Project Field of Flowers, as I've started calling it in the last couple of years. Now, what is FOF exactly? I see FOF as a Metroidvania-esque title set in a fantasy world with loose ties to Norse mythology, set in a time after the events of Ragnarok, after the Age of Gods had come to an end a long time ago. And to be completely honest, that idea and theme has been fueling some of my design decisions for the better part of a year now. Is this all just a dumb pipe dream? Hard to say it isn't, considering how saturated the Metroidvania genre already is, and how hard it would most likely be to make this thing a reality on my own. That, combined with how difficult it is to make it in the indie dev game scene already, it will for sure be a bit difficult. Either way, I remain determined. Now, am I planning on quitting drawing and posting on social media? No, that's not exactly the idea here. Even if I've never been too confident about making it just by doing art, and although, like how I stated at the start, about it being a part of the end goal of ending up in game development, it's still also its own thing, and I really don't see myself letting go of it as a hobby anytime soon. In the next year or so, I do want to put together an actual demo, even if it's just a small slice of what I want the project to be in the end. I wouldn't be as hopeful about this as I am, but since I've been able to make stuff in preparation during this last year in university, on top of already having some stuff built over the last few years, I think I should be able to manage. Now, as is pretty apparent, my art posting pace will significantly slow down due to this, but truth be told, it was going to always happen. This is just something I want to do, and something I've been wanting to do for a long while, so now that I have the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, I definitely want to try. Now that I've finally been given the confidence and courage to start taking the necessary steps, I will definitely follow that dream I have. That much I'm sure of. I'm not entirely sure if there'll be more videos like this in the future, but if you do want to keep up with my future work, be sure to check out the Twitter link in the description, as I will probably start posting more about game development stuff on top of just art in the near future. And now to the fun part of restarting a project, refactoring and rewriting a bunch of old shitty code. That'll be fun. Not, so wish me luck.